Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Hockey Hacks podcast, a proud member of the Heavy Hockey Network, a new friend of the Edmonton Sports Talk. And Bruce, it seems to be that it's feast or famine on this show. There's either 8 of us or there's 2 of us.
You bet. That's how we roll.
I'm Devon Davidson, your host. Of course, with me as always, Bruce Gunther.
Hello.
This is episode 124, Metropolitan Division Fantasy Preview Part 2. No John tonight. He didn't tell us why. He just gave us like a real mad face emoji type deal. So I'm not sure what's going on with him. And Tyler is traveling today. So you guys get the original host of the show, which is always a good time, Bruce. You and I always seem to have a good time doing these things. So
you bet.
Before we get too deep into it, I just want to mention that this episode is brought to you by Flaviar. Refine your palate with spirits from around the world. Sample and train your palate with curated tasting sets. Buy bottles at a discount and curate your home bar. Socialize and learn together with other members. Visit flaviar.com/FHH today to save 10% when you sign up for a subscription. Available to listeners in the United States, United Kingdom, and European Union. A couple more kind of just things on the agenda here. I think, how'd you feel about the episode last night, Bruce? Our first episode, our live show on Edmonton Sports Talk. Technically, I think we had 0 issues, which is kind of nice.
It was nice. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. Michael did a great job producing the show for us. Made that very simple. We just had to sit here and talk, so that was great.
Yeah, the little pop-up notes and that was awesome. I was like...
Yeah, no, it was great. And thank you to everyone that engaged. We had lots of questions from a few people, and that was fun.
Really good.
Yeah.
You bet.
Thank you to Jason for popping onto this. We always enjoy that.
Absolutely.
Make sure you tune in next week for Oilers Live on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then we'll be back on Wednesday at 9 p.m. That's at edmontonsportstalk.com. Yeah, this feels almost like a night off, Bruce. There's no... We can mess up as much as we want, and we'll just edit it and post, and it's fine. So
yeah, there's no time pressures. There's nothing. It's just you can just sit here and go.
Yeah, that was really strange trying to adjust to all these time restrictions and just knowing that we had exactly an hour and a half. And
yeah,
the outro was about 3 seconds long, so
it didn't last long. Nope.
No. The other thing,
cut it close.
That's right. And the other thing I just wanted to mention quickly is that Dauber Hockey actually gave us 5 more Ultimate Fantasy Hockey prize packs.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure how we should do that. I'm thinking if you want to get entered in to win those, just very low-key this time, leave us a 5-star review. So and then send me a screenshot. So if I see a 5-star review and if you follow us on Twitter or X, the first 5 people to do that and DM me the info, I'm going to email you one of those Ultimate prize packs.
There you go. Simple and straightforward.
Truthfully, we've got so much going on with the content that I don't know if we have a ton of time, Bruce, to be worrying about contests right now, as much as we enjoy them. But
yes.
So
only keeping it simple, though.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It worked for Gene Simmons. It can work for us, too.
There you go.
All right. With that, let's get into it. 2023-2024 Metro Division Fantasy Hockey Preview Part 2. As we do each offseason, we are going to assess each division and team based on the results from the previous year, as well as any changes that were made as a result of the NHL entry draft and free agency. So which teams improved, declined, or remained largely the same, team statistics, schedule notes, additions, departures, and projections for key fantasy-relevant players in 2023-2024. And with that, Bruce, let's go straight to the Carolina Hurricanes, maybe the most boring elite team in the league.
Pretty close.
52, 21, and 9 last year. They're first in the Metro. 15th in goals for at 3.2. They were second in goals against with 2.56. Goals for percentage was 57.45. Corsi 4 was first at nearly 60%. Great puck possession team. Power play could use some work, though. They were 20th last year at 19.8%, and the PK was fantastic at 84.4%. They've got 14 back-to-back sets this season, tied for third most with Ottawa. 27 of their games, or 33%, are played on light days, tied for the 8th fewest among all teams in 23-24. Key additions, Michael Bunting, Tony DeAngelo. Key departures, Paul Stastny and Shane Gostisbehere. So, Bruce, did this team improve, decline, or remain largely the same?
I think it's largely the same. I don't know. There's no if it's an improvement or it's slight. It's not too much. I think they're hoping that Mr. D'Angelo helps the power play out to get it back to where it was.
Yeah, I'm going to say improved. I think I agree with that, Bruce. Like just slightly. I don't think it was any massive improvements, but Michael Bunting is shown to be a productive player. I mean, playing with Matthews, it's hard not to be, and Marner, but I think he'll be a welcome addition to the top six there. Seth Jarvis probably looks to take a step forward this year.
Mm-hmm.
Svechnikov is back, so hopefully he can stay healthy and put up a pile of points and throw a bunch of hits. And then they've got like 18 goaltenders to choose from. So really, they
exactly right. Oh boy,
things should be just fine. So let's talk about some of these guys. I think let's jump in right to goaltending, Bruce, because that one, truthfully, and I'm gonna maybe lean on you for this one because this was really your baby, and I agree with what you've done here. I may not have done it this way, but go ahead. Tell us what you're thinking for Carolina for next year.
So my thought is it's going to be a three-headed monster. So I realize Kochetkov's probably going to start the season in the AHL. He's still waivers eligible, so he's going to start the season in the AHL. But we both know Ranta and Anderson's history. They're going to get hurt sometimes at the same time, and they're going to need someone to fill the net, and Kochetkov's going to be there. So like I've got him slated here for 20 starts this season, which is slightly less than what he did last year. I think it was 23 for him last year. I forgot to write that down.
I'll look it up here, Bruce.
But Kochetkov is going to see starts this year for Carolina because, like I said, Ranta's going to get hurt, Anderson's going to get hurt, and they're going to need someone to play. And really, to be honest, if Anderson goes down or Ranta goes down, Kochetkov may play, and they may just sit the other goalie too. That's the wonderful thing about Carolina goaltending. You never know until the game starts who's going to start.
Very true. Very true. 24 starts for Kochetkov last season.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's 25. It's what 25-ish percent, 27%,
roughly. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think what you got here makes a lot of sense, Bruce. So 20 starts, 14 wins for Kochetkov, 22 starts, 12 wins for Ranta, and then 40 starts and 25 wins for Anderson. Would you agree at this point that Anderson is still the most sought after of the three, probably the guy you should be leaning on if you're going to wade into those Carolina Hurricanes waters, which for me personally, I just want no part of it. Unless I'm drafting Kochetkov in a keeper league or a dynasty league, I don't really have a lot of interest in the crease in Carolina.
Yeah, he's not Kochetkov isn't seeing the net unless one of the other two get hurt. He's waivers eligible for another season, and they're not going to rush him.
Yeah. Ranta was solid though last year, as he has been very throughout his career, right?
Yeah.
19-3, 2.23 goals against average. I mean, Anderson had a shaky season during the regular season, but he actually looked really good in the playoffs last year.
Yes, he did.
I don't have all of his numbers here, but he was great. He was fantastic, and it's going to be interesting to watch what they do there in Carolina.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I guess we forgot to add Dmitry Orlov to the additions. I guess I forgot to add him to the additions.
Yeah, this was kind of on you this week. All the notes for this episode.
Yeah, I kind of missed that one.
But you know what? They probably have if not the deepest, one of the deepest top six on the back end in the entire league.
Very close.
I mean, you've got Burns, you've got Slavin, you've got Orlov now. Like Orlov was a great get for them. You got Brett Pesce, right? You got, I mean, D'Angelo not defensively, but he's another just depth piece that I think the reason we like him here is just again for that power play, right? So
yeah, that's why he's there. That's strictly the power play. When D'Angelo when he signed that league minimum 1-year deal, their power play was 13th overall that year with D'Angelo running it. So, and now they went to use basically a mix of Burns and Shea last year, and Burns got some points, but the power play sucked basically.
Yeah.
So they're hoping that D'Angelo can bring some of that magic back and move them back up into hopefully get closer to the top 10 like they were before.
Well, and part of that could be too, the absence of Svechnikov, right? He played 64 games last season. So that's a guy you need on your power play, right?
Yep.
But
Well, they got lots of forwards that can play the power play. It's just weird seeing it that low. Like,
you think just given their possession numbers and some of the talent they have around them, they should be better. There's no question.
You would think, right?
And Burns, for the longest time, was a great power play quarterback, right? So I don't know. It's interesting. Like I want to think that Burns will still be the top guy running the power play unit, but I see no other reason to bring Tony DeAngelo back into your roster other than to run the power play.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I think DeAngelo will see the top power play. You'll probably see Burns on power play too, most likely. Unless they decide to go 3 forwards and 2 defensemen and put both of them back there. But with the amount of forwards that Carolina's got, I can't see them doing that. I think it's DeAngelo on 1 and Burns on 2.
Yeah, and unless they decide to split their power plays too, like I mean that could happen too, but I don't know. And the thing is too, they have enough defensive defensemen that it's not like you're saving Brent Burns to play defensive minutes at even strength.
Yeah,
right. You've got other guys that can do that.
Yeah, and even too, when Brady Shea had an opportunity to run the power play, he did a serviceable job too on that. So it's not like,
yeah, he has for sure. Okay, so saying all of that, we've got Brent Burns projected for 15 goals and 55 points this season. Not earth-shattering numbers, and definitely a step back from, really fantasy-relevant Burns of old. But he is getting up there too. 37 years old now, I think. So,
yep.
You got to think at some point there's going to be some age-related decline. What did he play last year? 61 points, 18 goals. He still played over 23 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So,
well, big body, long stick. That
yeah.
Just got to be in the right position. You can cover a lot of space.
Yeah. And then DeAngelo, we've got for 12 goals and 44 points. Again, probably a good chunk of that is going to be power play points. And I think, like to me, he's kind of he's almost going to be like Tyson Barrie, what he was for Edmonton, right? Kind of just a power play specialist, third pairing minutes. You play sheltered minutes.
And if the power play goes well, he'll definitely surpass 44 points.
For sure. Yeah, definitely doable. Jacob Slavin, another guy, 7 goals, 42 points, I think. And given his ADP, is that right, Bruce? 173? I checked that. Slavin.
No, I think that's wrong because I think I forgot.
You're not far. It's 172.5 right now.
Because him and Orlov have the same ADP, so I'm wondering if I forgot one or used the same one for both.
It's all good, but very close, right? And then so Orlov probably in that same, same vein. Well, actually 164.3. So interesting. Okay. Who else? We've talked about Seth Jarvis a number of times, Bruce. I think we all kind of feel like he 10 points, 10 points in 15 games for Carolina last year in the playoffs. He looked really good. I think he's playing over 20 minutes a game. Does he take a step forward? We got him for 22 goals and 59 points this year.
Be nice if he did. I'm sure Carolina would be happy if he would do that.
And is he currently going undrafted?
Jarvis?
Seth Jarvis? Oh, here I got one. I'm just curious. I'm looking at this, and we don't have a value down for him, but 164. Still pretty good value for a guy that's going to go at that point in the draft, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Any interest in Teuvo Teravainen for this season? I've seen depth charts, Bruce, where he's on the top left wing spot, and I've seen them where he's on the fourth line. Like, it's just, he's kind of all over the place. So he's dealt with injuries. He's dealt with some inconsistent play.
Not really. No.
Doesn't help you with a lot of categories. The one thing I'd say about him is he has left wing, right wing eligibility. So there,
maybe he's a fill-in player, maybe.
Yeah,
but that would be it.
Michael Bunting, we mentioned him earlier. 27 goals, 55 points. Probably is playing on that second line, or do you think he's going to get top line duty?
I'm picking second or third line. I can't see him on the top line. There's too much talent ahead of him for him to play on the top line. I think it'd be second or third.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this. I don't know. I like left wing lock as one example has Bunting lined up with Aho and Seth Jarvis, and then they've got Svechnikov, Kotkaniemi, and Martin Necas to round out. So I mean, and again, this is where I say Teuvo Teravainen is playing on the fourth line right wing. So
Not really the place for him.
it just feels like the range of outcomes for Teravainen is all over
All
the
over
map.
the place.
Yeah.
All over the place.
He's probably a guy that I would watch list and just see like. So then I go to Dauber's depth chart and they have him top line left wing. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. And then Dauber also has Martin Necas playing center on the second line with Kotkaniemi on the third. And that feels a bit more like I like that second line better actually with Bunting, Necas, and Svechnikov.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like a stronger second line to me, but.
Well, they'll have they got lots of options. They can do a bunch of line combinations. So I'm sure they'll go through the motions in training camp and see who works well with who.
Speaking of Martin Necas, so we've got him projected for 29 goals and 70 points. How do you feel about that player this year?
I'm just not too sure. So for me, he'd be more of I think I'll let someone else draft him as opposed to myself. Just too much volatility there for me. It's pretty different highs and lows there. I guess it would be from one year to another.
Right.
Last year was high. The year before that was really low, and then the year before that it was good again. So hopefully he can be consistent this year. But I probably for looking at other players in the 70-point range, I'd be looking at somebody else.
You know, it's really interesting. So I've talked about the Dauber 200 game breakout threshold a number of times recently, and some guys think it's voodoo, but it's been shown that it may be a thing. So I'm just looking at Martin Necas here. He had one game in 2017-2018, then he had 7 games played in 2018-2019. So I'm not really going to include those here, but so if you exclude those 8 games, basically this past season was his 4th year, and he started at just over 200 games played, right? So he was right at his breakout threshold at the beginning of last season. He comes in 71 points, 28 goals. He looked pretty good. Played 18 and a half minutes, right? And so that's the other thing too is his deployment changed a little bit. He actually got power play time. He got power play one time, and it looks again looking at a lot of depth charts that he's going to get that power play one role in Carolina again this season. So
definitely helps his fantasy value. That's for sure.
It does, yeah. And so I'm just kind of, I mean, where do you take that guy, right? So 145.6. I'm kind of with you. It feels like that's maybe a bit early for me. If I get him a bit later than that, I wouldn't mind picking him up.
The only 3 consistents in Carolina is going to be Aho, Svechnikov, and probably D'Angelo.
Well, and that's kind of what I mean is like Svechnikov is being drafted at just under 70, 68.6. And we've got him projected for 4 points difference, and you know between Svechnikov
and there's
Necas.
Almost 8 rounds different. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So it's like you can get really good value. The difference being that if you're in a bangers league and you're looking for hits, Svechnikov is going to be a better option, right?
Yeah, because he hits a lot more than.
Like I'm just looking at last year's numbers here. 57 hits for Necas. Pull up Svech. Bruce, I should have got you a coffee. 2.19 hits per game for Svechnikov. So yeah,
I'm a mess tonight. Yep. I am a definite mess.
Well, I am chugging a cold coffee here. So yeah, it's I hear you. I was a wreck before we got on the show, and I know John's not even here. So okay. Where was I? Just lost my screen here. All right. So yeah, 30 goals, 74 points for Svech, 29 goals, 70 points for Necas. And then, like you had said, probably the one real consistent guy, producer every year for them is Sebastian Aho. And he's kind of going in the 3rd or 4th round.
Which isn't too bad for him.
It's fine.
Point per game player, that's not too bad.
If he's a point per game player, I think that's fine if you can get him in the 4th round, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
they're a great team, but Carolina just from a fantasy perspective doesn't excite me very much.
No, me neither.
Like I just don't. It's not a team that I typically target. So
No.
they'll do well. They'll probably be right in the thick of it for another divisional title. But I'm just for fantasy, they're a bit of a snooze fest for me.
Yep.
All right. So saying that, let's move on to Columbus, which is way more exciting, Bruce.
Well, especially with the news lately. Yeah, it's
Well, yeah, and actually, looking at the personnel this year, I'm kind of half serious. Like, I think they've got some players that I'm actually really intrigued by this year, and like Johnny Gaudreau and Patrick Laine are kind of staples, and you know that if healthy, those guys are going to be producers.
definitely.
Boone Jenner, I think, is almost criminally underrated.
Especially if he gets to play between the two, between Laine and Gaudreau, that could be a very good spot for him.
Well, and he's not even right now. He's not even getting drafted, Bruce.
I know, right? You could pick him up off the wire, and like he could be a 65, 70 point player if he can stay healthy. Just playing between those two guys, and you could pick him up off the wire. That would be fantastic.
It's incredible. And like the guy, so he averages just under 2 hits per game last year, 1.9, right?
Yeah.
Over a block per game, almost a penalty minute per game. He was at like 0.75 or something. Like he was up there.
That's some good category coverage.
Like good category coverage. He's a threat to score 30 goals if he's healthy. Like I think 30 goals, 60 points, and that's kind of we've got him at 29 and 59, right? So I don't know. It's just
He can play a full season.
Yeah, it's crazy to me, and I think he is going to get that top line, Bruce. I don't see them just throwing because they have Jenner there. He's still only 30 years old. I don't see them just throwing Fantilli in there, especially because Jenner's your captain, right, in Columbus.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to bring a rookie in? Unless he drastically outplays him, I don't think they're going to just throw a rookie on the top line.
No. And there was I had read somewhere that Laine said too he would be open to playing center too if they needed him to.
Okay. Yeah, I read that too. Yeah. So
I think he played a little bit of center last season, but for now they have a new coach. Well, they may have a new coach again too. You never know how this whole league shakes out.
It took until September 12th, Bruce, for there to be an incident, and I honestly haven't read a lot about the story.
I haven't either. I read it and I just like, oh God.
So I don't want to speculate, but it's just like the guy's been around for 2 weeks and he's already like there's already a story, right? It's just kind of I don't know. So does it affect you at all looking at this from a fantasy perspective? Do you care? Is it going to affect the players, or are you just going to draft these guys going, yeah, it is what it is?
I've got to, for the players that I would target on here, I would be more concerned about their injury history than I would be the coach.
Okay, totally fair. Since we're talking about centers and we mentioned Fantilli, let's talk about him really quickly. Again, a difficult player to project. I think he does fit sort of the banger mold a little bit from what I know about the player. And we have I don't want to call it conservative because 56 points still feels like quite a bit for a rookie, but 22 goals and 56 points. I mean, I can see him getting more power. Like one spot where I can see him potentially taking over is in the power play.
Definitely. No, I could definitely see him there. Like you put Fantilli in there, you got Laine, you got Gaudreau, you got Werenski on the point. That's a nice looking power play right there.
Yeah, I think like that's where I could see that being the case, where Jenner maybe loses a bit of his power play time, but he's also good on the draw. Almost 55%. 758 faceoffs won last year, which would have probably placed him fairly high in league standings. So don't sleep on Boone Jenner. I'm starting to sound like Blake Creamer here. I'll have to get my Boone Jenner t-shirt, but yeah, okay. Patrick Laine, what do you think, Bruce? Can he crack 40 this year? We've got him for 38 goals and 80 points, but I think if healthy, he should be a lock for 40, no?
If he's healthy, absolutely. Health is his concern. Because when he's healthy, like last season when he was healthy, he was a point per game player.
Yeah, what did he do in his first? Well, he had 4 points in 8 games.
He had a great start, and then he got hurt.
But then in the middle, so he had 18 points.
Middle was kind of, and then he got hurt again. And then when he came back, he was like a house on fire.
Well, like there's a stretch there. He had 38 points and 17 goals in 40 games.
Yeah.
So he was fantastic. But it just, again, it's got to stay on the ice.
Yeah, he's got to stay healthy. That's the only way he's gonna get there.
But I mean, he's been a point per game player in 3 of the last 4 seasons. So I think that's a nice option. And is his ADP honestly 160.5? 159.7. Okay, so people are starting to warm up to him a little bit here. But that feels like really good value for a guy that could play at a point per game.
If I'm seeing him there at that, I'm grabbing him definitely.
Well, and Tyler's going to be gunning for him too. So
Tyler's going to pick him right after Bouchard.
The 3 of us will be just duking it out for Laine.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny Gaudreau, 34 goals, 84 points. Any thoughts on Gaudreau for next year?
No, I think the first year was a bit of an adjustment for him when they had a ton of injury issues. I think they had the most man games lost in the NHL last year. Like you touch the player with a puck and he'd fall over and break something. It was terrible for them. So, Gaudreau, if he's got, I have no trouble with him being at a point per game. No problem at all.
All right. If you're looking at some of these younger guys, Kent Johnson, I know you're a big fan of Kent Johnson.
I am. I'd like to see him take another step here this season. We'll see how his deployment and see how it all goes. So I think they've got him projected on the second line, I think is what I've been seeing so far.
Pretty productive season last year, no?
Yeah, it was actually good, and if you take another little step forward, I think every little bit helps. I think they've got him on the wing, but he is listed as a center, so that's some nice flexibility as well.
Yeah, I'm looking like realistically that was his first. He had 9 games played before that, but that was his first full season with the team. So to come out and put up, 39 points and 16 goals, almost a 20-point season. He only played 14 and a half minutes.
Yeah, he didn't play a lot.
No, so it's pretty good production out of him. And if he does get, like you said, some top 6 minutes out of it, could be a nice addition. Probably he's going undrafted too. So that he's definitely a watch list guy for me.
For sure.
Keep an eye on him. Zach Werenski, there's been lots of talk about Zach Werenski this summer. I know there's a lot of other fantasy hockey minds that love Zach Werenski, and I do too. But I feel like our projection, though, Bruce, I think is a little bit more conservative. I've seen some people say he can score 20 or 22 goals. We've got him at 16 and 54, and I kind of feel like that's the right spot for him.
Yeah, because he started hot before he got hurt. He was clipping it along at a very nice pace, and then he had a shoulder injury, and then that put him out for the season. Because, like I said, that power play, you've got him on the points, you've got Laine, you've got Gaudreau, you'll probably have Fantilli in there, and then they'll need someone to play probably on the right side. So I think Marchenko might be the one. They might rotate people in and out of there. That's going to be a nice power play.
Yeah, they'll be fun to watch. I still stand by my prediction that like his 3-year average is 25 minutes played.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say that he plays closer to 23 minutes. I think he played 23, 36, and 13 games. So I just think with Provorov and Severson and some of the other guys they have available to them, he's gonna play a few less minutes.
Yeah, he's got some help there. He doesn't have to be everything out there. They've got him some help now, so he doesn't have to shoulder the load all on his own. Get it? Shoulder the load.
Nice, yeah. Pun intended.
Unintended pun there.
And I mean, well, I guess look at this too. Like he's always had offensive zone starts close to 60%. So like he's not getting used a ton in the defensive zone. But I'm just thinking some of those even strength minutes he might. So it might be a 30-second difference this year. It could be a minute difference. I'm just saying there'll be a little bit less opportunity at even strength. He's going to get all the opportunity on the power play. So maybe we shouldn't just consider this guy a 70-point lock just yet.
If the power play takes off, he'll be close.
Again, good value. Like he's going around 156. So this is a guy like he's going to go earlier. I think we know that, especially in our ESPN league. some of these experts leagues. Like if we're drafting with Nate, just know he's going to take him at like right around 100. I can almost guarantee it.
Probably.
Yeah, Provorov and Severson, I mentioned them. I don't think there's anything to get really excited about in terms of offensive production. Both are kind of like 30 to 35 point guys.
Unless Werenski gets hurt again.
Unless Werenski gets hurt again. And if that's the case, then Severson is a really nice waiver wire pickup. And there's maybe some of the young guys there that could pick up the slack too. But Severson filled in really well for the Devils, actually, when Hamilton was out with injury.
He did very well.
What did he put up that year? I'm just going to take a quick look.
It was an impressive number, whatever it was, from what I remember.
Like 46 points, 11 goals in 80 games. So not...
That's nice little...
Yeah, it's not bad, right? Like, he actually had 31 points that season in... What is that? 45 games? That's a pretty good clip.
That's a nice pace.
Yeah. So, I think he's capable if ever called upon, but the shot volume is not great, and defensively he's not a real gem, as I understand either. So take that for what it's worth. Goaltending. What do you make of Elvis Merzlikins? I feel like this is sort of a bounce back year, or could be a bounce back year for Elvis Merzlikins, and he's a guy that I had tabbed to talk about last night as another player that's going undrafted that could potentially provide some value in your fantasy drafts.
I think he's going to be a very good 0G option this year. If he can have a bounce back season. Because, he's not going to go drafted. I don't think he's going to get drafted, not after what he put up last season, but he could be a very strong force in 0G for anyone that needs a goaltending that late in the draft.
Yeah, he had a really rough year last year.
Yeah.
What was his final numbers? 876. Oh man, an 876 and a 4.23. But you go back to the start of 2021. In 12 games, he had a 2.41 goals against average and a 929 save percentage. Like, the guy looked fantastic. He finished the year with a 912 in 24 games played, and then last year was just kind of a train wreck. So,
yeah. Well, in that year, he put that number. The team that was in front of him played. That was the team that knocked Tampa out of the playoffs, was it not?
Good question. I want to say that was
Bob was in net, but wasn't that? Oh no, maybe that was the year before that.
I think it was the year before that, Bruce.
It was the year before that, but still,
because Tampa won. I was going to say Tampa won in 20 and 21, right?
I think so.
And then they got knocked out in the first round in 19, I believe, to Columbus.
Yeah. Either way, the team in front of them then was better than the team in front of them now. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. So 52 starts and 22 wins. You're comfortable with that?
I think so. I think I put that in there, so I should be.
I think 52 starts, like 63% net share, 65% net share seems reasonable to me. And then, the wins, who knows? We'll see.
And it all depends on how their season goes. If they come out and they play well, and Merzlikins is playing well, that number will look really good. If he has a season like last season, then Tarasov could see a lot more time in the net.
Yep.
Although he was only marginally better.
I think I could be wrong, Bruce, but I think I jumped over the team stats here too. So I'll just run through those. Oh. I think I missed them. I don't know, but really quickly, 25, 48, and 9, 8th in the Metro, 2.6 goals for per game, was 30th in the league last year. Goals against was 31st at 4.01.
We probably could have skipped them.
Oh boy, I'm like, how did I forget this? These are terrible stats. Power play and special teams was a train wreck too. 26th in the power play and 25th in the PK. So they got 13 back-to-back sets this season, 4th most with Montreal and Toronto. 34% of the games are played on light days, the 9th most amongst all NHL clubs. And then again, we've talked about Provorov, Severson, and Fantilli as key additions, and then key departures being Jakub Voracek. Okay, and with that, Bruce, let's move on to probably the most exciting team we're going to talk about tonight. It's really funny.
I think so.
We lumped the Devils in with the Carolina Hurricanes, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the New York Islanders. This would have been the most bland episode ever had we not put the New Jersey Devils in here.
I know. There's lots of wonderful options in New Jersey.
My goodness.
Lots.
All right, so let's start it off real quick. 52, 22, and 8, second in the Metro. Goals for was fifth at 3.52. Goals against was eighth at 2.71. Corsi for was fourth at 53.67. The power play was 13th at 21.9%, and the PK was fourth with a percentage of 82.6. They've got 16 back-to-back sets this season, the most among all NHL clubs in 23-24. I think that bodes well for Akira Schmid, who I think lots of people are picking this guy anyway, but with that number of back-to-backs, you're guaranteed probably 16 starts right there.
For sure.
And then
for sure,
whatever happens with Vanacek. So 34 games or 41% are played on light days. That is the fourth most among all teams for next season. Key additions, Tyler Toffoli. Key departures, Damon Severson. Bruce, for your money, did this team improve, decline, or remain largely the same?
I think they got better. I really think they got better. You adding Toffoli up front for what they paid for him. That was nice. That was really nice. And then
go ahead.
I think there was more changes on defense too. I think I bungled that one up too.
Oh, who knows? Let's see.
I think Graves left too. Did he not?
I think Graves is in Pittsburgh, isn't he?
Yeah. Was it this year or is it the year before?
I
can't remember.
I think that was this summer.
Is that a summer one?
Summer exchange. But just pulling up their depth chart here.
Oh.
They've got Jonas Siegenthaler, Dougie Hamilton, Luke Hughes, John Marino, Kevin Ball, and Colin Miller. So
well, adding Luke Hughes will be huge for them too.
But absolutely, I agree 100% on that one. Tyler Toffoli is easily their most notable acquisition. Like there's some other guys they've added, but they're mostly depth pieces. Yeah. Colin Miller was he should play some minutes for him. Cal Foote, kind of just a bit of a project there. But yeah, they lost some depth guys. They lost Jesper Boquist, Miles Wood, Ryan Graves, as you had mentioned, Thomas Tatar. Blackwood's gone, but I don't think that's a real loss, to be honest.
No.
So there
he really didn't play anyway. He was hurt too often.
He was hurt all the time. Yeah, there was lots of issues there. But I am really excited about this team. So are they a bit overhyped, Bruce? Like, is this a team that they've obviously got Stanley Cup aspirations? I think all the odds makers, have them as favorites for lots of different things. But is it going to happen? Is it a lot of hype, or is it real?
I think if you look at the team as a whole last year, I think they overachieved last year for what was probably expected of them. And now that they've done that, now everyone's expecting them to take that step further, right?
Sure.
Hughes had a fantastic season. They added Meyer at the deadline. Heischer and Bratt played well. Mercer stepped up. Then you add Toffoli. You got Luke Hughes on the back end for more offense. You've got Schmid and Vanacek in net. You look at the playoffs where Vanacek kind of wavered a little bit and Schmid picked up the slack there in the playoffs. Expectations for this team is huge this year. Is it justified? We'll find out.
I'm going to be really interested to see how they all sort of react to that pressure, because it's a little different when you're playing with house money like they were last year. There's no expectations. And they went out and Jack Hughes finally was healthy and he looked phenomenal. Vanacek played well for long stretches. Dougie Hamilton had a great season. It's different when there's no, and like you said, Dawson Mercer stepped up. So it'll be interesting to see how they react this year, and how all those pieces sort of fit together, because the top six looks pretty stacked.
Definitely. You look at that lineup, and it's like, you look at the power play, it's like, oh boy, that's nice. That's very nice.
It's interesting because they've got two guys in Jack Hughes and Timo Meier that are just huge shot monsters, right? I think they both were tied 12.9 shots on goal per 60.
Yeah,
they're amongst the best in the NHL, right? It was like
elite
shot production.
Fifth best, I think, is what I read.
Yeah. So Jack Hughes, I like this, Bruce. I think he's got a shot at 50 goals and 100 points. Like, I think he can
Yeah.
He can be right
He
there.
just came up short last year, just a little short.
Yeah. You think he could knock one in off his butt or something, right? But
Exactly. Just stick it out,
do
bounce it
something.
off.
47 goals, 103 points. But great season from him. Shot production is fantastic. He's going to be playing on another really solid line. And where is he going right now, Bruce? He's going high, 13.1. So just right at the turn. Timo Meier. If you're looking for category coverage, you're looking for shots, if you're looking for goals, this is a guy to mark on your draft list. Going right now in the third round. 154 hits. No, it's not terrible. 154 hits and 37 blocks last season. We've got him projected here for 37 goals and 72 points. So seems like a little bit high for a guy that may not put up as many points as you'd like. But if you're in a league where you need category coverage, then all day he's a great option.
All too, and I think they have Hughes and Myers slated to play on different lines, which will help both of them. Because if they played on the same line, you're basically stealing one for the other. If you put them on separate lines, then you can run them out at full capacity.
Well, and so that has me thinking. You're exactly right, and that has me thinking about a guy, Tyler Toffoli. We've got him here, Bruce, at 30 goals and 62 points. I'm really curious to see how Toffoli does this year playing on a line, if he does play on a line with Jack Hughes, because we know that Jack Hughes is a shoot-first guy, right? But Toffoli, he had a career-best 11.8 shots on goal per 60 last season, just behind Alex Ovechkin for top 10 league-wide. Can he maintain that same shot rate playing with Jack Hughes? Because they're both going to want to shoot the puck, right?
Yeah.
And we saw it with Connor and Taylor Hall, right? It was like they both guys wanted to have the puck all the time, and you can't have that on the line. It doesn't work. So does Toffoli's shot rate go down a little bit, or like what do we see happen, right? And a couple.
The nice thing with Toffoli is he can fit in just about anywhere, right? So last year, with all the stuff that happened in Calgary, he was basically given prime deployment and go here, have fun with it, roll with it, right? And he made the most of it, right?
He sure did.
But if you look through the history, he's been third line, second line. He's never been that top line player. So I think he'll just adapt to whatever is needed for him, and he's still going to get his points. His shot rate may not be as high, but he's still going to get his points.
Well, there's a couple things. So his shot rate, but then also his individual shooting percentage at 12.7% was the third highest of his career last season. And he had the most power play time he'd ever had at 256 time on ice per game and a 56% power play share. So do all of those things repeat again next year? I'm not saying it won't. It's just it's a concern of mine, right? Does he get all the power play time in New Jersey because they've got lots of options? And does he continue shooting the puck as much? Time will tell. But I think, too, at an ADP of 73.5, maybe there are worse bets. I would like to take him a round or two later, but
yeah, because the projections I've seen have Toffoli on power play 2.
Yes. So that is part of the equation here. Is if he gets power play 2 time, and if he doesn't shoot as much, and if he doesn't convert on those shots as much, 30 goals may be a stretch.
Could be. He's going to stick his butt out, and maybe Hughes can bank a couple of shots off of it.
You know what? Again, just great years. I think career years, basically from Bratt and from Hischier. Hischier, I mean, he had a career year last year, 80 points. Do you have 41 goals? Is that the quietest 40 goals ever scored?
Probably. Nico Hischier, 31 goals and 49 assists.
31. Okay, I'll get my eyes checked.
I got dyslexic when I typed those numbers in.
I was thinking 41 goals. That's amazing. I had no idea, but still 31 goals. Great for me because this is a guy that I think a couple years into his career, they're going, is this guy a bust, right?
Yeah.
And I think you had a note in here, Bruce, like probably the most impressive thing is that he managed those 80 points with an offensive zone start of percentage of 45.7.
He spent quite a bit of time in the defensive zone, so that's
shot rate came up, so from 6.88 shots on goal per 60 in 3 previous seasons to 9.8 last year. Makes a big difference, obviously. That's an additional 10 goals right there, basically.
Yep.
he's going to play on a great line, top six. Like he's going to point per game should be pretty much a slam dunk for him next year. You think?
I think so. Yeah, like you said, you look at that top six, and it's like, wow. Like there's just fantasy gold here. I think is what you're going to see from a lot of these players. They're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Dawson Mercer projected for 28 goals and 62 points. I mean, obviously, like he's not going to get a lot of power play time. I think last year was 30% power play share, just over a minute, and well, it was a minute and 19 seconds per game. But he was also a top 100 player in points per 65 on 5 last season. So I think that's where you're going to see the bulk of the production from Dawson Mercer. And if there's any injuries, he's going to be almost an immediate candidate to step in on power play 1.
Absolutely, yep, for sure.
Where's he going right now? Again, 162 at the time of writing. So that's good value in a guy that could put up close to 30 goals potentially.
Yeah, you bet. And he's only 20. Oh, he's 21.
He's young. He's very young.
He's really young, so he's got lots of room to grow yet.
Yeah, like I mean, he's gonna be a good player. He is a good player, but I mean,
he is a good player. He could be a really good player.
Well, and again, so he's played 2 straight seasons of 82 games, which is also fantastic. But he's approaching his 200 game breakout threshold. So 164 games played. He's going to cross that at about the midway point of this season. So it's not like some magical thing that happens as soon as you hit 200 games, but he's in that range, right? So it'll be interesting to watch him see how he does this year.
And really, like he had 56 points last year, so 62 isn't a huge stretch for him to go up.
No, we're not reaching here, I don't think, on the point total. And then was it 27 goals, right? Yeah, 27 goals too. Yeah. So, I mean, pretty much, similar production as to what we saw. His shooting percentage was maybe a little bit high last year at 16.8%. So if that comes down a little bit, but maybe he starts shooting the puck a little more, which he did again last year. So 6.8 in his first year, shots a goal per 60 to 7.1 this past season. You know, if he can build on that a little bit more this year, and even if his shooting percentage goes down, it's kind of a wash. So we'll just see what happens there.
Yeah.
Dougie Hamilton, Bruce. Probably, speaking of shots and shot rate, this guy, shots monster, second among defensemen last year with 9.24 shots on goal per 60, second only to Roman Josi. And over the past 3 seasons, he ranks first amongst defensemen at 8.99 shots on goal per 60. So,
yeah. If you notice a theme with all these players, they like to shoot the puck.
They sure do.
They love to shoot the puck, love to shoot it.
You can't score if you don't shoot. So it's
exactly.
And we've talked about it a lot. So that's one of the first things I think any fantasy manager looks at is shot rate.
You bet.
You know, I don't think anyone likes taking players that shoot 1.2 shots on goal per game or you know, it's not ideal. It's very limiting for sure. So career best for him, 74 points and 22 goals last season. But his production was influenced by some luck. On the power play, he shot a career high 16% on 50 shots, well above his previous career high, his previous career average of 7.7%. And that difference in shooting percentage actually accounts for a difference of 4 or 5 goals based on last year's shot volume. So that right there, you could see a few less power play goals. His individual shooting percentage overall was inflated 8% relative to his career average of 6.4. His IPP was a bit high at 53.6%. So there's some things that I would just keep an eye on. Dougie Hamilton, obviously this team's going to be really good. He's going to continue shooting the puck. I don't have any real concerns. It's just there are some things that were inflated last year.
And the way this team is, you just don't know, right? On paper, it's stacked. So that's.
Yeah, I have no concerns, Bruce, about where he's going to be this year. Like he's going to continue producing points. We know he's going to put up 15 to 20 goals probably, and be around 70 points again if he stays healthy and things go well there. So don't get scared. I mean, I think he's going to be one of the top defensemen taken off the boards.
I think so too.
A little harder to project is Luke Hughes because I really don't know. We've got him here, Bruce, at 6 goals and 40 points, but we just don't have enough information to realistically project his point totals for next year.
2 playoff games. I think that's all we had. But he did really well in those 2 playoff games. So it's
three playoff games. Yeah, two
3 playoff games.
Yeah, 2 regular season and 3 playoffs. So not a big difference,
Okay.
obviously. But he had 4 points in 5 games played last year.
Yeah. So that means he's what, a 70-point defenseman then?
So let's project him for 70 points. Mark it up. No, and the thing is, like, he's going. This is interesting. I looked at this today, and like he's got a lot of potential for dynasty and keeper leagues. Absolutely, like grab this guy probably as early as you can. But Dougie Hamilton still owns the power play for the next few seasons, right? I don't think that's not going to change. And for this season in redraft leagues, it's really interesting to see where he's going. He's going at 119 on average. So we're looking at like kind of in the 10th round. And consider that in that same range, there's players like Aaron Ekblad, an ADP of 115, obviously going to miss some time with injury, but you've got Drew Doughty at 117, Justin Falk at 119, Chris Letang at 119, Tony DeAngelo at 127, Jacob Trouba at 127, and Morgan Riley at 127. So those guys are all there. I mean, Morgan Riley, Justin Falk, Drew Doughty, all going to get power play 1 time. Chris Letang, he's going to get a little less power play.
Riley does.
Right. Well, I think, again, that's a situation where it's a bit muddled too now. But they're all guys who also provide category coverage, like Justin Falk, Chris Letang, and Jacob Trouba. Those are 3 multi-category contributors, particularly for Bangers Leagues. It's going to be really hard for me to pass on one of those guys and grab Luke Hughes because I know Luke Hughes isn't getting power play 1 time.
Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch, but if you're someone that wants to gamble a bit in that spot, you might be a good gamble. You never know.
Yeah, I think at that point in the draft, if it's my 10th pick, I'm much more comfortable taking a guy like Chris Letang, just knowing that like he's going to contribute in hits and blocks. He's still going to have even strength exposure to whether it's Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin. Aaron Ekblad, when he does come back, is going to have exposure to a great top 6 in Florida. Morgan Riley, whether or not he plays on power play 1, still is going to play in the top pairing and have exposure to Marner and Matthews. So I don't know. It seems like a bit of a gamble in the 10th round, but that's where he's going.
There's lots more stable options available there.
Yes, sir. All right, let's move on to goaltending here then quickly. I still think like this is Vitek Vanacek's net to own, at least to start the year.
I think so too.
If he falls apart, then obviously they've got Akira Schmid there. But I still think, Bruce, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I still think they want to go out and grab a workhorse goaltender, even if it's just Connor Hellebuck for 1 season or half a season. They grab him at the deadline and try and make the money work. But I think they're one piece away.
Deals on goalies, though, they haven't worked well. The only one that I can remember that worked well in the past was Rolliston for Edmonton when they made their run.
It can happen, right? I mean, but I really do feel, and the Edmonton Oilers in 2006 felt the same way. If we're one piece away, and that's a workhorse goaltender, you have an elite goaltender in Connor Hellebuck, who's on an expiring contract.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you try and make that move just for 1 season? I mean, if it costs you one of your goaltenders, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
If you win a cup, win a cup, do you care if you lose Vanacek?
Yeah, but then you look at what Vegas did. They didn't need a top tier goaltender to win either. So,
yeah, I feel like Hill is maybe a bit underrated. Like he did really well in some pretty terrible teams in Arizona for a long time,
and San Jose,
and I think he just I don't know. Obviously, playing for a good team changes things, but
definitely.
Hard to pass on Hellebuck if you can make that happen. Obviously, the concern there too is you're not going to pay him $10 million next season if that's what he wants, right?
No, not with the caliber of forwards that New Jersey's got. He's not going to get that.
But maybe he does take a bit of a discount if Jersey comes knocking and says, "Hey, like things went well. You want to stick around?
Yeah,
Like maybe we can pay you a reasonable
maybe,
salary."
maybe
We're also in the era, Bruce, of NHL players taking NBA style deals and just pay me the money.
short
So
term, big money.
yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, I won't get into it because I don't really like it at all. I don't
yeah.
respect it. But all right, let's go to the New York Islanders. As much as this is going to pay me, Bruce, there are a couple players on the Islanders that I don't mind talking about here. So
There's 2 for me, and that's about it.
yeah, 42, 31, and 9. They were fourth in the Metro. They were 22nd in goals for at 2.95, fifth in goals against at 2.65. Goals for at 52.72 was 11th. Corsi 4 was 20th. Special teams, they were 30th on the power play at 15.8% and 9th on the penalty kill at 82.8%. They've got 10 back-to-back sets this season, tied for the fourth fewest with the Edmonton Oilers, the Detroit Red Wings, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I kind of like that, Bruce. So that tells me right there, like, I mean, going beyond the obvious, you have like a guy like Sorokin you want to target, a guy like Vasilevsky you want to target, but maybe that tandem in Edmonton, is appealing too. So,
Definitely.
29% of the games are played on light days, fifth fewest with the Dallas Stars. Key additions, absolutely nothing.
I don't think there was any additions. They jettisoned Bailey.
Yes, who
But I
signed a
couldn't.
PTO today.
Yeah, in Ottawa,
So that seems like that's a nice depth add for them.
definitely. Yeah, when I looked at the Islanders lineup, I didn't see any real notable additions.
No, just some depth moves there. Nothing to really be too excited about. So I guess, Bruce, we can just say they stayed largely the same. There wasn't really any activity here from the Islanders.
No.
Okay, let's just start with. I mean, I mentioned Sorokin, so let's go there first. I think that's kind of that's low hanging fruit, Bruce.
Absolutely, it is. Let's go for it.
All right, 60 starts, 73% net share, and 33 wins is what we got him projected for. He's getting plenty of preseason Vezina love, and I would say rightfully so. He's been in the top 3 in terms of save percentage and goals against average the past 3 seasons. Is he the top fantasy goaltender for you right now, given the goals against average and just his talent, or are you still like? I'll just say for me, I like Shesterkin better still because I think the Rangers are going to win more games, and wins still matter in most fantasy league setups. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I would give the edge to Shesterkin there in terms of fantasy. In terms of actual real life goaltending, I think Sorokin might be slightly ahead of Shesterkin.
Yep.
But in terms of fantasy, I would. But I don't think I would. I'm not taking a goaltender at 16. Sorry, that's just not happening.
You know what? I'm kind of warming up to it a little bit. I'm not going to blow a ton of draft capital, but if I have an opportunity, like depending on where I'm drafting and depending on the league setup, like I know in our ESPN league, unless Bruce or Tyler changes the league settings, I think we get 5 wins or 5 points for a goalie win.
Yeah.
So they in that particular setup, goaltending matters, and it's hard to. It is 0G is tough. You got to really commit to finding guys and streaming goaltenders and.
I did,
and you can do it. It's absolutely a viable draft strategy.
Nobody picked any Leaf goaltender, so I took them really, really late, and they're going to get wins.
Yep.
So it's the Leafs, right? They're going to win games. So
if I could lock up Samsonov and Wool this year, that's absolutely a tandem I have interest in.
Yeah,
but it's going to be tricky because you have to try and get Samsonov earlier, and there's a chance that Wool takes over at some point this year. So.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing there too, right? Where we know here in on the Long Island, you know who's in net and who's not.
Yeah,
Varlamov is going to spend a lot of time on the bench this season. A lot of time on the bench.
Yeah, we've got him at 27% net share and just 22 starts, 10 wins. So, at which I don't think is surprising. Varlamov at this point in his career probably doesn't care all that much either. So,
no, and it didn't sound like he wanted to go anywhere else either.
Yeah, but going back to the how I would approach goaltending early in the fantasy draft, if I can secure one of those top 5 or 6 guys, given league settings and where I'm drafting,
Yeah,
I may not avoid it this year. I may I may look at a guy like Shesterkin or Jake Ottinger. Like I think Jake Ottinger is going to be an absolute workhorse this year
yeah,
behind a wagon of a team in Dallas. There is a very good chance that guy gets some Vezina consideration this year.
for sure,
Like,
for sure.
that's one that I'm not going to be too upset with if I have to spend a second or third round pick on.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go, Sorokin. Lots of starts, a few wins sprinkled in. And then I want to jump up to Matthew Barzal because he it almost feels like the guy's a bust, Bruce. But he's kind of he came out hot his first season, 85 points, 22 goals, or his second season, whatever it was. But in 6 NHL regular seasons since, like that's still his career high to date.
I think if you take Barzell out of Long Island and put him anywhere else, I think he's close to a point per game player.
That's fair.
I think it's the fact that he's stuck on Long Island, and we talk about the next one in line here too. I think the same thing is going to happen to him this season too. I think it's the fact that they're stuck on Long Island, and that system is just not conducive to putting up scoring. It's just they're a defense first team, and I just don't see a ton of points coming out of there.
No, like as much as I said, I don't find Carolina super sexy. I definitely don't find the Islanders to be a super interesting team fantasy wise. So, yeah, I think Barzal, like for me, he's a guy he's going to score you, roughly. We've got him for 23 goals and 70 points. He's going to be somewhere around 20-ish goals and mid 60s to low 70s. Like if all goes well, right?
I'm thinking mid 60s.
And his average draft position reflects that. This is a guy, he doesn't really provide you any category coverage either beyond that. So,
no, he's a pure points guy.
Like in a points league, great. You can draft him and feel comfortable. Maybe he gets you a point per game if he has a great season, but beyond that, not too much to get excited about. Let's move on to the next guy because Bo Horvat actually does have some intrigue for specific categories, and he's shown that he can produce offensively at times. So last year at the deadline, or not, it wasn't even, it was early, right? I think it was in February when they made that trade.
Yeah, it was it was quite a bit earlier than the deadline.
Well, and they actually were they out of the playoffs before Horvat joined, and then things turned around pretty quick once he joined. If I recall, don't quote me on that, but
playoffs last year.
Well, I just know they were out of it completely. Like it wasn't happening.
They got close.
And that's right. And then they got very close. So it was. Yeah. Or I want to say they did, Bruce.
No, I don't think they made it in.
Maybe not. I'm going to fact check that later. Anyway, what was the issue there? It was 54 points in 49 games, 90-point pace over 82. But then his production dropped off a cliff, right? And it was due to his shooting percentage. Trade. Well, the trade, yeah, he went to Long Island to die. And it's funny because a lot of us said when it happened, like, oh boy, like,
yeah, it's gonna go off a cliff, and it sure did.
There is the death of Bo Horvat's fantasy hockey career.
Yeah.
But it was his shooting percentage. So going from 22% to 8% is a massive, massive decline. So probably not going to happen again this year, right? Like I think that'll shake out, and it's going to be a little bit of a wash.
Yeah, I found it a bit of irony too, right? So Horvat goes back to the island. So when the Islanders traded for Corey Snyder, I think it was Corey Snyder, they traded the Bo Horvat pick to the Canucks. That's the pick they used to pick Horvat. And then they traded Horvat back to the Islanders.
That is interesting. Okay, I fact checked this too, Bruce. Just the Islanders did make the playoffs in 23.
They did?
Yes, they lost their opening round series to the Carolina Hurricanes. And I think it was in
that's why I don't remember, because it was
in 5 or 6 games. Yeah. Well, I think that because I remember that being the story. It was Horvat basically came in February, and it paid off. And the team, things turned around, puck possession turned around. And part of it is Horvat is an absolute gem when it comes to faceoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're
fantastic faceoff guy.
Yeah. If you're in a league that counts faceoff wins, this is obviously a guy you want to target. Patrice Bergeron has been the guy, right? And so over the past 3 seasons, only Bergeron has had more faceoff wins than Bo Horvat. So Patrice Bergeron, 2748. For Horvat, just under 2,500 faceoff wins. And then last season, he was third behind Bergeron and Sidney Crosby. So could be a top 2 or 3 faceoff guy again this year.
Wow, I didn't think Crosby was that high.
Crosby wins some faceoffs, apparently, yeah.
He wins 1 or 2.
There you go. And then kind of mixed in here, Bruce, we got a bunch of guys: Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, Kyle Palmieri. We've got Lee at 52 points and 33 goals, Nelson at 34 goals and 67 points, and then 18 goals and 41 points for Palmieri. So kind of just older veteran players that most fantasy managers don't get too excited about. They're generally waiver wire fodder.
No, the only one maybe would be Anders Lee. He scores goals. That's about all he scores is goals, but that's...
Yeah, I probably have more interest in Brock Nelson, to be honest. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
For category coverage and stuff like that, maybe.
Well, I think he's the better offensive producer right now at this point in their careers. But
yeah, it's a whole lot of meh.
It's a whole lot. Exactly.
It's a whole lot of I guess the only one that probably with any upside this year, or someone that you want to take maybe something a late round on, would be Wahlstrom.
Yes.
He's going to get a ton of opportunity this year. So I think he's presently going undrafted, but that could be someone to put on your watch list and keep an eye on, because he's going to get lots of opportunity this year. And if he can take advantage of it, he could be a sneaky good option.
I mean, the issue with Wahlstrom, because he has great rate stats, like his shot volume or shot rate is I think borderline elite. Like he was at where was he, Bruce? He was like 10
to 10.7. Like that's fantastic. I think his health is his biggest issue.
Well, it's deployment for me. It's like,
well, that too, right? He wasn't.
What did he play last year? 12-10 average time on ice.
And seasons before that, I don't even think it reached double digits.
No, it did, but just like, so it was 12 minutes, 12-10, 12-04, 12-23, and then in his first year it was 10-17. But you're right, a lot of times he had single digit number or minutes, right? He didn't get utilized. Yeah. And he's had no power play time to speak of. So
nope.
20% power play share last year, 35 the year before that, 43 the year before that. He is, again, another player that's approaching his 200-game breakout threshold. I'm intrigued. He's a guy that's definitely going to be on my watch list. I've streamed him at times, and he's done just fine for me. But
yeah,
still a long way to go with that player for sure.
Yes.
Okay, and then
this guy though, I'm interested in drafting.
Yeah, I mean, last Islander we'll talk about tonight. Noah Dobson, an ADP of 111.9. We've got him projected for 14 goals and 55 points.
That's a little early for me, but
yeah,
I like what he did last year. I had him last year in one league, and he did really well for me.
He's been really consistent the last 2 years. He's played at a 52-point pace, around 200 shots. His shooting percentage has been between 6.3 and 6.8%. This last year, though, or last 2 seasons, it's the big change has been on the power play, right? So he's looked at roughly 70% power play share in each of the past 2 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got, last year he had 23 power play points. The year before he had 25. So very, very consistent the last 2 years in terms of power play points.
And that's good coverage. Like you're happy with that production on the power play, I think. If you can get 25 power play points from your defenseman, you're happy with that.
I think you're happy with that.
Yeah. 13 goals in back-to-back seasons as well. So, and then a bit of category coverage, right? 1 hit per game or close to 1 hit per game and 1.5 blocks.
Yeah. And like you said, his shots aren't too bad either. He took 206 last year and 190 the year before. So he's not afraid to shoot the puck either. So that's nice for a defenseman too.
Yeah. And I looked at it right now. He's being drafted as the 23rd defenseman off the board. So for me, that feels like a pretty good spot for him. He's basically, he's a power play 1 top pairing defenseman on a team that will push for a playoff spot. So,
yep.
I think he has an opportunity to exceed his ADP for the season.
Yeah, I think so.
Alrighty. That does it, Bruce. That is the Metropolitan Division Fantasy Preview Part 2, and that actually concludes our divisional previews for this season. It's been I'm not going to say a long summer. We've been at this for a while now, just doing these 2-part divisional previews, I think, since...
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
July.
I think we started this back, it might have been start of August, but still, yeah, we've had lots of great guests, so thank you to everyone that, jumped on the podcast and talked hockey with us. We had Matt Larkin, Caleb Kearney, Stephen Ellis, Jason Chen, Flip Livingstone, Michael Amato. We still have Johnny Lazarus coming on here in a couple weeks, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, and then next week, we've got Ian Gooding joining us
awesome.
on Thursday next week, and then Nate from Apples and Gino is going to join us on the 28th. And then I think Johnny Lazarus is actually getting moved to October 5th. So still some good guests coming up here, but we're going to be talking about a few different things beyond just the divisional preview. So I'm excited to shake that up, Bruce, for the next couple weeks.
Most definitely.
All right. And then, like I said, if you want to get entered to win one of those ultimate fantasy prize packs from Dauber Hockey, leave us a 5-star review either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Follow us on Twitter/X. And send me a screenshot of your rating, and then we'll try and get you hooked up with one of these prize packs. So
I'll send you a screenshot of my rating.
All right, let's see that rating, Bruce. We need to get those ratings up, buddy. But you know what? We joke about this all the time, but it really it does help us get out to more listeners. And so if you enjoy
Yes, it does.
if you enjoy the content that we're producing and it's helping you in your fantasy leagues, tell a friend, leave a review, help us out. We really appreciate it. And then too, like I said, give us a follow on Twitter/X at FH Hacks. Check the website out at Fantasy Hockey Hacks. And then also be sure to tune in at EdmontonSportsTalk.com on Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Mountain Time for Oilers Live, and then Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Mountain Time to listen to us on the Hacks Hangout. And again, we've got that regular rotation of guests for the season, which I'm really excited about, Bruce.
Yeah, me too. That's a great lineup of guests, and they're excited to come on. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I like the format too. I think especially we're kind of doing more preview stuff still, but as we get into the regular season and we have, current stuff to talk about in season, it's just going to be a lot more laid back and engaging and just kind of more conversational. So I'm really looking forward to that this season.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be lots of fun.
All right, Bruce, I need to finally get to bed here at a reasonable time, so I'm going to let you go. We will talk to you on Wednesday.
Sounds good. Good night.
Take care.